Reading with your kids.
Aloha, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni moli wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and honored that you are joining us in our mission to help families grow closer through reading. We have two wonderful guests for you today. A little later on in the show, Taryn Aina will be joining us from Maui in Hawaii to talk to us about her beautiful book, The Silver Hairbrush, and to also remind us to take advantage of all those moments we can love, those lovable moments. But first, Ammie Elliott is returning to the show to celebrate Unicorn Horn Mountain. Hey, Ammie, how are you?
Hi, Jed. It is so good to be back. I am doing really well and looking forward to this cooler season as fall has kind of hit. Yeah. So it's beautiful here in Columbus.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to have you back on. We had a lot of fun talking to you before about Origami Orchestra, and that was such a great, there's so many great visuals that came into my mind as we were talking about it, and I know we're going to have the same kind of experience talking about Unicorn Horn Mountain. Tell us all about this place.
Yes, well, this is the third book of my collection of picture books called the Dreamscape Series. So with this one, as with what is the overarching theme for the entire series, is really inspiring young dreamers to grow and help contribute to an inclusive and diverse world, I should say. So I want to inspire kids to grow together. And with Unicorn Horn Mountain, part of that growth, being true to your inner unicorn, what makes you you, what makes you unique, is sometimes an uphill battle. So the whole idea behind Unicorn Horn Mountain was to portray that kind of growth for kids, to allow them to see that perseverance can pay off, and that this unicorn horn that the main character travels upward toward, it's not easy. It's a hard journey, but at the end it's inspired, and you've discovered, it's a little bit about self-discovery and coming into your own, as well as contributing to a more diverse and inclusive world.
One of the things you mentioned was you're looking to inspire kids to grow together. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that we don't often say. We talk about celebrating diversity and including people, but I think it's really, as you said that, I'm thinking, we need to grow together. We need to encourage our kids to really grow together, because that's one of the ways they actually grow closer to each other.
And our young kids, these very impressionable minds that are just open to all this wonder and the diversity of the world. Kids are very naturally open to diversity. So, I want to inspire that. And the message I have for parents who are often reading to their kids and exposing them to these different worlds within their storybooks is, let's raise our kids to rise together. So it's part of that whole message of growing together. And it starts with parents and the parent-child bond very early on.
So important. And, you're talking about diversity. And one of the things that just kind of popped into my mind as we were talking about that is we are living in a much more diverse world. Well, I guess the world's always been diverse, but we're more aware of it because we have more connections with each other. We're able to communicate with each other. And I know here in the States, we're becoming more diverse, because when I was growing up, we had, Irish kids and Italian kids and Polish kids and black kids and Chinese kids. But now we're having a lot of Irish and Puerto Rican kids, like my kids, and black and Asian kids. And so there's a lot more mixing, and that's really a beautiful thing, I think.
It is. It's evidence that we are, as a culture, beginning to grow together. And I think that's very important. When I sit down to write these books, and I'm keeping that in mind as I work with a very talented artist who has illustrated my books. His name is Travis McCoy. And, we are different ages, different genders, different colors, come from different backgrounds. But what has really been awesome in working together is that we both want to ensure representation in picture books because, again, early reading and early exposure is really important to helping show the world as it has always been diverse. As you said, it's always been diverse. There just hasn't really been representation in places, even in picture books. So I think our partnership in working together is really helping us model that growth mindset.
Yeah, yeah. So important. I love that. I love that quote. We raise our kids to rise together.
Yeah, that's something that I really have just leaned into. It's something that's my personal belief, and I'm starting to vocalize it more and really, talk about that as I'm promoting the books. Because as a white author and working with Travis, who is a Black illustrator, and making sure that we have that representation. And although I am older with some teen kids in the house, he's younger and he has nieces and nephew. And we come together and we talk about the importance of how it takes generations to really close that diversity gap. And really bring the world to a more inclusive place.
Yeah. Why is this so important for you?
I really want my kids to grow up being well-rounded, good humans, being able to embrace different cultures. So something about the Dreamscape series, too, is part of understanding and just helping introduce different cultures is the first book, Origami Orchestra. I wanted to introduce, an Asian art style, and Travis, he's excellent and he's able to do all different kinds of art. So impressed. And being able to portray this world I create. And in Baked In, it was inspired by a kind of pop art, because while we want to show diversity in color and even gender, because our main character is actually androgynous. It's not a he or a she. It's they're they. Mm-hmm. But also diversity in the art. So this third book, Unicorn Horn Mountain, is a celebration of mural street art and lyrical storytelling. So we're really excited as this book is about to drop October 5th.
Yeah, well, that is exciting. Where do your ideas come from?
Oh my gosh, I love this question because in working with Woodhall Press, they've really, they've been getting to know me as a writer, and really embracing the idea that I am a world creator for children. And when I sit down to write, it's a natural chaos that I embrace in a way. And I feel like it's reflective of our world, where I want to create worlds where it doesn't exactly reflect where we are as a culture, but where we want to be. So it's a utopia in a way where differences are normal. Where it's celebrated and you get to be you. So creating this world that isn't tethered to stereotypes, which is why from book to book, we want to show the character as a different color in order to get that representation message. And also with having the character be androgynous to represent the fact that, kids out there, whether they identify as he, she, they, or are non-binary, being able to welcome them to this world where they can see themselves in the character without having the stereotypes attached to even whichever pronoun they use. So I don't know that I answered your question of where these worlds come from. I just sit down and I almost go to my own different world. And I just sit and describe it. I close my eyes, and when I've kind of snapped out of it, I look at what I wrote and I'm like, okay, this is a great start. Now I have to start editing, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know, you have such great energy. I'm wondering what makes you smile when you get up in the morning?
Oh my gosh. Actually, I talk to my kids about this all the time, but one of the first thoughts that I have in the morning is how I can be better and just ensure that my work is contributing to a greater good in a sort of way. And that makes me feel really happy. So I also at bedtime, because my books, the Dreamscape series, are designed for bedtime, this kind of lyrical tone that will help lull someone to sleep while also inspiring them to have like some unique, powerful dreams. But I do a lot of meditation too, to ensure that I'm intentional with what I do each day.
I think that's an important lesson for us to share with our kids, is that whole idea of being intentional. How did you, or how do you encourage your kids? You mentioned that you have teenagers. How do you encourage your teenagers to be more intentional?
So it's something that I started doing when they were young, and something that I started doing just myself as a kid because it made me feel better. I struggled with anxiety as a kid, and bedtime was always hard because I felt like my mind was flooded with, worries of the next day. And it's probably still very relevant to a lot of kids out there. So when I would go to bed, instead of trying to stop myself from thinking about those things, because when you try and stop something, then it's in your mind still. Like it doesn't allow it. You can't really stop it. Mm-hmm. So what I would do was I would set the intention for what I would think about. And it almost became like a bedtime mantra. I would sit and think about all the things and just list in my head things that I was grateful for. And things about what I might be worried about. Okay, how can I make that weakness into a strength? How can I ensure I'm not afraid or worried of something? And sometimes a lot of it was homework. Like, did I forget to do my homework? And then I would write a note to myself and be like, okay, wake up and check my assignment homework, my workbook, and get up a little bit early. And those things made me feel better and also taught me to just be proactive in general with things that I was worried about, and it made me feel better. Mm-hmm. And I taught that with the kids, and my daughter also had some anxiety issues, and she doesn't have that issue anymore. So something's working. Not exactly sure what, but something is.
Well, that's really important. We know we have a lot of our teens out there are anxious, especially in this time of the pandemic when we don't know what's going to happen day to day, and we think things are getting better, and then maybe it's not getting better. And I think helping our kids find ways to ease their anxiety are really, really important. Yes,
and I have a positive energy and I look at things very positively, but that wasn't a natural occurrence for me. So there definitely was some pessimism once upon a time, and we all have down days. So it's important to let those negative thoughts even enter your mind. So in order for you to be proactive and acknowledge them, and I encourage kids to talk to their counselors, their school counselors. I did that as a kid and it was helpful, or your parents or guardians or a trusted adult, and just be able to talk about it. Mm-hmm. Because there is a wealth of wisdom and a lot of effort right now for social emotional learning. And it is really important not to just pretend to be okay. Mm-hmm. So it's good to be intentional, but that goes for even like the tougher times, mm-hmm. too.
Yeah. So important, so important. This is the third book in the Dreamscape series. Will there be book number 4 or 5?
Yes, there will be. So, actually already starting some work on the next 2. Actually, the priority though for the next one will be Butterfly Ride. And I'm working with Travis on the creative direction for that. But the idea is that it will be a celebration of mosaic art and stained glass art. So the visuals will be stunning, just as they are in every picture book that we've done together. And then after that, I think we're going to do one called Night Sky, which will be more of a Jackson Pollock kind of art style.
Very, very cool.
Yes.
Very cool.
Again, trying to be diverse and exposing kids to all the different types of art style.
Yeah. Where did your love of all these different types of art forms come from?
That's a good question. As a kid, I was always in my own head a little bit, but I love looking at unusual, abstract things, finding the beauty in it. It's a feeling of being inspired, and I like to think that the people who inspired me, my art teacher, when I was in elementary school, one of the things that we did was we had to model different kinds of art. So we had to do our own version of, a Monet or a Jackson Pollock. And I use those 2 examples because those are the 2 that I wanted to, copycat, so to speak. And I really enjoyed the Jackson Pollock and just how liberating it was to get those splash marks on a canvas, and that it was chaos, but it was beautiful. Mm-hmm. Like once it was all splattered on the page. So I think it's about a feeling, and just again about exploring your own creative senses, because what I like, may not be other people's thing. Mm-hmm. So that's also an important reason to show different art styles through all eventually 10 of these books. Awesome. So I have 10 written, 3 are out, 2 are in the works, and we're creating the worlds for the others.
That's
finishing them.
That's wonderful. Well, I know people are going to want to know where they can go to find out more about Unicorn Horn Mountain and find out more about Ammie Elliott.
Yes, so Unicorn Horn Mountain is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, also through Woodhull Press there. And I had someone tell me the other day that they saw my book on Target. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic. But if you want to follow me on social media, I'm on Instagram, which at Dreamscape Series, and same with Facebook. So on Dreamscape Series, I am on there, and I'm trying to be better at being on there, creating some more content. But what I will have coming out along with this is some fun, free printables, like puzzles that can be solved and coloring pages that I will be posting on social media.
Very, very cool. We've had a great time speaking to the author of Unicorn Horn Mountain, Ammie Elliott. Hey, Ammie, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you, Dad. This was fantastic. So I really appreciate you welcoming me back on the show. I'm getting tongue-tied. Thank you so much.
Before we invite Taryn Aina to join us to talk about the Silver Hairbrush, we would love to invite you to join us on social media. Facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram. We have a great Pinterest page that is titled Reading With Your Kids. You can also connect with us on Twitter at Jedley Magic. We have a great newsletter. It's free. You can sign up for that at readingwithyourkids.com. And, of course, we would love it if you could subscribe to the show. You can find us wherever you find your podcast. Some of our favorite places, the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, Podchaser, Podcast Addict, Good Pods. You kind of get the message. We're everywhere, and we'd love you to be with us, too. Joining us right now from the beautiful island of Maui in Hawaii, our guest today is the author of The Silver Hairbrush. Please welcome to the show, Taryn Aina. Hey, Taryn, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Thanks for having me on. I so appreciate it.
Well, we're really happy that you got up right now. It's 5:30 in the morning in Maui, so Taryn's gotten up very early for us. We appreciate that.
Well, I usually get up this early, so it wasn't a problem, but I just didn't want my frog voice in the morning.
So tell me all about the Silver Hairbrush, please.
Okay, this is a book that talks about multi-generational nurturing. It started as just a desire in my heart over 20 years ago. I was brushing my daughter's hair, and I had this thought that was like just divinely inspired, dropped into my spirit. And it says, this is the time when you have the opportunity to put some really golden nugget dropping things into your daughter's life, and you're wasting it. And that just hit me really hard. And since then, it was my mission to kind of get this book out, to just kind of encourage families to make mundane moments very meaningful to each other. So, grab those teachable moments, invest that time, look at it as an opportunity. You know how we say that teachable moments are moments where we're able to teach. Well, I like to call them lovable moments where we're able to love. And so throughout the story, this little girl and her mother begin to have these hairbrushing sessions, and they talk about a few things consistently, but as the girl grows up, some of their topics change. And it's just a testament to just as parents how we want to stay connected to our children, and how to connect not only to our children but also to our parents. And so I just love the message of this story. I feel like it's a story for every family. And part of my motto is, like, when I've signed books and stuff, it's just said, love your tribe on every side, be the bridge. And so that's kind of my way that I like to connect this book to generations and to families. I feel like it's an investment into families and just encouragement. Now, for some people, it might be fishing, or it might be cleaning out the garage. And, you have this life lesson that comes out of, having too much stuff and what really matters. Or it might manifest itself in other ways, in other types of traditions. But in this book, it talks primarily about the hairbrushing sessions, which, interestingly enough, as people have been reading it, I've had so many things. It took me back to when my mother brushed my hair, and we had these conversations. And even my friends that are fathers would say, "Oh, I remember when I was brushing my daughter's hair." And we talk about a whole lot of things, and I just love those kinds of testimonials because I know that some of us, most of us, are doing it. Especially in this time of COVID, where we spent a lot of time together with our families. I think we've kind of been able to kind of pinpoint the areas where we could work on. We could have more communication. We could spend more time. We could take the little things and make them meaningful.
Well, those lovable moments that you spoke of, they're so very, very important. And of course, sitting down and reading with your kids are perfect, lovable moments, but there are so many more, and we just seem so busy these days, and there's so much going on, and there's so many devices distracting us and screaming for our attention, and those devices are so much louder than our kids. But I think it's important for us as parents to be the ones to shut off those distractions and to really focus in and listen when our kids are thirsty for our attention, to give them that attention. And something as simple as sitting down and brushing your daughter's hair, raking the leaves with your son, cleaning out the van with the kids, having them help. And when you turn those moments into lovable moments, there are some things that you're never going to forget.
Exactly. That is absolutely true. Yeah. And I think that there's a life lesson in nearly everything that we do. And I think that if we could just slow down and pay attention a little bit more, I think we'd find them. And, these things will tend to weave their way in and out of conversations we have with our children, experiences that we're having with them. And it's just, just being attentive to when you're inspired in that way, to share a story or to share a life lesson, or to have them compare and contrast some things that are happening in their lives, and how to look at the good in things. This book is also about connecting to your parents. Mm-hmm. And now losing both my parents, I look back at the types of traditions that we had, and I wish I had paid more attention as a kid. Numerous times, and I was just waiting for the end result. I just wanted to be able to eat those things. But I wish I had paid attention to how she made it, and how she kneaded the dough, and how she let it sit, and how she stuffed it with the meat. I mean, I don't think it was meant to be a tradition, but as I remember it, it was a tradition, and I wish I had paid more attention. And so I know that connecting with parents and being that bridge to connect the two generations, because we want legacy to continue. We want legacy to go on. And so in this book, the legacy of a hairbrush, I mean, it's just a simple tool, but what it was able to do for this family, it connected these 3 generations of strong women. And it was something that was going to, you knew it was going to continue. You just knew it was. And so, but more than the actual tool, it was the conversations. It was the conversation through the tears. It was the counseling. It was the uplifting. It was encouraging. These are the things that our children will remember and pass on to others.
Well, I know, Taryn, everybody's going to want to know where they can learn more about the Silver Hairbrush and learn more about you. Where can they go online?
Well, my website is aletteredlove.com. And it houses my blog as well. So it might not look like an author's website, but when you get in there, it's more about uplifting words and encouraging people. The book is available on Amazon and all of your online stores like Target and Barnes & Noble. And yeah, that's me. If you want to find me, on my website there, I think I don't know if my Gmail is on there, but it's aletteredlove@gmail.com. So, because, and it's so funny how that title came to be, because I just feel like, we all have the opportunity to leave these wonderful love letters to the world. So that was the birthing of that website name. So it's aletteredlove.com. That's where you find me.
Wonderful. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of The Silver Hairbrush, reminding us to make the mundane memorable. Our guest has been Taryn Aina. Hey, Taryn, thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, I so appreciate it. I've heard such wonderful things about you. I'm glad I was able to meet you in person. You're the greatest.
Thank you. Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Rosanna Fung. She'll be joining us to celebrate her new graphic novel, Living with Viola. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you are the author of a fantastic children's book, we would love it if you could go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the author's Click Here button at the top of the page. That way you can find out how you can be a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. You can also find out about our Certified Great Read program that has helped so many authors tell the world about their fantastic children's book. You can also find out about our really powerful promotion packages. It's all there for you to find out at readingwithyourkids.com. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Ammie Elliott. Be sure to check out Unicorn Horn Mountain. And also be sure to check out Taryn Aina's The Silver Hairbrush. Also want to thank my team, Alejandro Doherty, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Michael Murphy. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.